Hello from Zach and the barking neighborhood dogs that I don't know if you can hear. Today we're going to talk about Cogs versus Conductors. This is a simple, bite-sized, kind of like fundamental mindset thing that is going to allow you to charge more to the clients you work with and book a lot more gigs. So let's dive into the concept. So what do I mean when I say Cog versus Conductor? Basically what I envision here is if you want a cog in your business. You have an idea of exactly how something should be done. You have a process. You don't need some specifically trained person. You just want a cog that fits into your machine. How valuable is that compared to if you need to hire a conductor who has trained a bunch for this and you don't really micromanage this person. You just say, yo, conductor, drive this whole train. Do you drive a train? Do you pilot a train? Whatever a conductor does to a train, conducts it maybe, do that to the train and don't crash it. There's a lot of valuable stuff on this train. Which of those things do you think is more valuable? Obviously, conductor. These are vague metaphors, but the takeaway here is being a conductor is really valuable. And how this comes into play in a WordPress dev business or as a developer in general is getting yourself out of this sort of cog in the machine kind of thing where you are just a code monkey who's hired to complete some task and getting yourself into an advisor role where you are seen as like a strategic advisor for the client to make decisions about what they should do on the site. When you are in that sort of role, your expertise is worth a lot more and you're able to charge a lot more. I think that's a big reason why I can charge my clients as much as I do for sites, because they know they can come to me asking me what I think that they should do for their site versus if they were trying to hire someone cheap for a few bucks an hour on Upwork, they wouldn't expect that. And it would just be a whole different relationship. So what I'm going to do is dive into the different ways that you can implement this in different stages of your business. A couple other videos that you should check out if you're enjoying this concept that'll kind of flesh it out more. Number one, I have a video about my client interview process. That's going to give you a nice foundational framework. And another one that's about always remembering why the client is hiring you. I'll have those links below this video, but be sure to check that out for more kind of like background information. So how does being a conductor help during the very top funnel stage of the process where you're just trying to book a gig? Well, the best example I can give is if you are applying, say on Upwork, someone does their job post. The typical responses they're going to get are a bunch of just copy and pasted bullshit, where clearly this person put no thought or time into the response and they're just saying, hello, dear sir or madam, I can achieve all of your requirements if only you would hire me. That's like the normal response, and none or just a tiny amount of customization to it. So the conductor in that role would not do that. The conductor in that role would look at the posting and ask themselves, what do they need to know from this client to make a really, really awesome end result for them? So let's say someone did an Upwork post saying that they want to hire somebody to build a website for their, I always say pizza shops. I'm trying to think of something else. What do people use websites for? They want a website built for their dance studio. And the blog or the Upwork post says something like, hey, I'm looking for someone to build a simple site for my dance studio. And my budget is $400. And I need it done within a couple weeks. The conductor would respond to that and ask, like, they would say, hey, saw your post. I've built websites for dance studios before or not. And I think I can help you out, but I have a few questions first. Number one, what types of people are coming to your dance studio and why do they work with you over other dance studios? Two, I would ask them, what is your current like onboarding flow for new people? How do people currently find you and come to your dance studio? Then maybe three, I'd say, who are your best customers? Who are the people who keep their subscriptions for the longest amount of time? What do you know about them? Things like this. Like, this is all off the top of my head. I did take a moment to pause, but nonetheless, ask yourself like strategic questions that you'd want to know from them to help you build a website that's going to convert and reach their goals. Because nobody wants a website just to have a website. People want a website to do some specific thing for them. So if you can ask yourself and them what it is that they want done, the mere act of asking sets you aside from the competition because most people aren't. The asterisk here is that your questions have to be like smart questions. If you ask a lot of like dumb coggy questions, it's going to have the opposite effect. It's not going to make you feel like an advisor. It's going to make you feel like more of a cog, but also a cog who can't do their own job. So if you ask them like questions like, do you think you want this site to be responsive? Do you know what WordPress theme you want? Do you know what content management system you want to use? Questions like that. They are important questions. Obviously, you need to know these things, but they're not conductor questions. They're cog questions. So to me, these are the sorts of questions you could ask once you're a little bit further into the process and they're a little bit more committed to working with you. Obviously, if you don't know what CMS they're going to use, it's hard for you to bid the thing. If you don't know what theme they want, it's hard for you to bid the thing, that sort of stuff. But hopefully you can see the difference between the questions. It's like if you're on a date with somebody and they ask you like a really thought-provoking question that builds intimacy versus like a really dumb question that almost pushes you away because it's such a dumb question. Like, what'd you think of the weather today, huh? Pretty wet out there, huh? You know, like that's just a dumb question. If you do ask this on your dates, sorry that I'm essentially criticizing you. But in any case, let's move on. So how does being a conductor come into play at the beginning of a project? So let's say they book you and you're getting started. Being a conductor there takes the shape of like finding out their core goals for the project, which you would have done a little bit in the previous step, but interviewing them in more detail about their typical audience member, avatar, goals of the site. Be sure to check out my video about my client interview process for this because I'm going to go a lot more in depth in it there. And another aspect where this would come into play at the beginning of the project would be developing wireframes with them. I always like to start from wireframes, even before I get into Photoshop or building the site in my layout builder or whatever. Having a wireframe where you can just quickly put the like kind of core goals onto the page is great. I love using the Envision app. I'll put a link in the video. I'll make a note to do that. For just quickly throwing together really, really simple, sketchy wireframes that we can implement later. So during the project, the conductor would look like, if you're a developer, questioning the features that they're asking you to build if they seem incongruent with what you know. So if they're asking you, a good example I've used before is a slider. If they're asking you to put a slider on their homepage, probably they are not like educated about UX and they didn't do a bunch of research to determine that a slider is good. Because if they had done research, they probably wouldn't be asking for one. Usually people ask for a slider just because they've seen it before. I feel like sliders on websites are often just the blind leading the blind. Everyone has a slider because everyone else has a slider. And who doesn't want a slider, nice pictures and stuff? But in any case, before I rant about sliders, the takeaway here is if the client asks for a feature and it seems weird, you can just kind of question it. Don't be a douche about it, but you could say like, well, actually, based on what you said before, you want your main priority here for somebody to book or not even book, but just like go through the virtual tour of your dance studio. In my opinion, that's the most valuable thing. Why don't we have the virtual tour thing be at the very top of the homepage? And they'd probably be like, oh, yeah, sure, cool, or whatever. And so that's the way that being a conductor takes place throughout the project. Be sure to check out my Always Remember the Why the Client is Hiring You video, because that one goes a lot more in depth on this. So when wrapping up a project, what does being a conductor look like there? A couple of thoughts that come to mind are, number one, once you've done your responsive probably you should do it before this, but once you've like done your responsive and cross-browser testing and you're just about to do the final sign-off on the site, just take one last chance to step into the shoes of this avatar ideal customer that the client told you about way at the beginning and pretend you're coming to this site. What are your thoughts? What are your inclinations? Is there anything missing between what the ideal customer sees and the client getting that ideal customer to like achieve whatever the client's goals are? So in the case of this dance studio, maybe it's setting up a free trial membership and coming in. Are there any gaps in the process? If I were building a dance site and I wanted someone to do a free trial membership, I'd probably make sure to get that person on like an autoresponder, say, give me your email and your first dance lesson's free, and make sure that autoresponder has some messages that say like, yo, dog, come in for your first dance lesson or whatever. So you could go through that process and just ask yourself, is there anything missing? Maybe you go to the site and there's no autoresponder, stuff like that. Another way that this takes shape is when you're totally done with the thing, you've got paid, all that stuff. I always like to ask for a testimonial, like I usually say a couple quick sentences about your experience working with me that I can put on the site. That way they don't feel pressure to write, a bunch of paragraphs. Or sometimes I'll just ask them in Slack what their experience has been, and then I'll say, can I use that as a testimonial? And I also like to ask for critical feedback. I think getting really good at taking critical feedback is one of the best skills that you can build. I still get triggered when clients ask me for changes to my designs that feel unnecessary. They'll say, Zach, do you think it's a good idea if we blank? And I always just want to say, no. If I thought it was a good idea, I would have done it. But nonetheless, I recognize that that's like my monkey brain just getting triggered. And so I think that if you build a workflow in when you're finishing up your projects to ask what you could have done better, you could even just make it really simple to answer, really low hanging fruit. Like, what's one thing I could have done better that would have improved your experience on this project? Usually someone can think of one little thing. And you could even say one little thing. That's another way that you'll kind of paint yourself as a conductor, because people who are cogs and not very good at what they do are insecure, and they don't want feedback because they fear it will break their glass house that they've built of just feeling okay enough with themselves to even do their job. So if that's you and you don't have the confidence, obviously I don't want you to break your glass house. But I would challenge you to ask, what could you do if you don't feel comfortable asking for critical feedback right now? What could you do to have enough faith in your own skills that a piece of critical feedback is not going to break you? What sorts of indicators would make you feel better about your own skills? Is it simply building your portfolio? Is it getting some certifications, going through a course? What is it? For me, it's usually just experience and time. I have made several YouTube videos in this new sort of thread on my channel, and I don't think the first ones were amazing, but you never get better at things until you do them. And the more you do something, the more comfortable it gets. So maybe for you, you don't ask for the criticism yet, but you set a goal that after you've worked with, say, 5 clients, you do, or whatever. I don't know. I think there are certain things that they're never going to be easy until you just do it. And criticism might be that. Maybe it's never going to be comfortable, but the more you ask for it, the more you get comfortable getting it. I'm not sure. It'll depend on you. So that's about it. I would, as an action step, I would ask you to think of, let's say, 3 different ways, or maybe even just 1 to 3 different ways that you can start acting as more of a conductor with your current project. So if you're currently at a job, how can you be more of a conductor at your job? I think it's very easy for people to get into cog roles at jobs because they think that that's what the job wants. But being a self-starter and almost like an intrapreneur at a job is a really great way to get paid more and build more flexibility. So yeah, whether you're freelance or working at a job, I would challenge you to think of some ways you can do that. Anything I missed? Any ways that are common ways to become a conductor? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate a like and subscribe. And I've also got a free course called quityourdevjob.com that'll dive into all these concepts we're talking about and more, with a bunch of really cool free bonuses and worksheets and checklists and stuff to help you transition from being a developer working at a dev job to running your own business. So join at quityourdevjob.com for free if you want. And thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.